Welcome back, I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was created by a user named Friendly Engineer. It was posted in the AITAH subreddit and is titled, "Am I the jerk for telling my sister that I won't change my wedding? I, 27F, am getting married to my fiancé Raj, 29M, in a couple of months. We are having a traditional, lavish Indian wedding, which has been a dream of mine since childhood. I grew up in a mixed household. My father is Hindu and my mother is Christian. While we celebrated both religions growing up, I've always felt more connected to my father's Hindu traditions. My sister Sarah, 25F, is also getting married around the same time. She identifies more with our mother's Christian faith and is planning a traditional Christian wedding. Recently, Sarah approached me, expressing concerns that our weddings being close together might overshadow hers, especially since mine is more extravagant and involves multiple days of celebration. Sarah asked if I could either tone down my wedding, consider postponing it, or even make it a fully Christian ceremony to balance things out. She believes that having two weddings so close together, with one being significantly grander, would take attention away from hers and create unnecessary stress for our family, who will have to juggle both events. I told her that I understand her concerns, but I've been planning this wedding for over a year, and it means a lot to me to have it the way I've always imagined. I also pointed out that our cultural backgrounds are different, and both weddings will be special in their own ways. Additionally, postponing my wedding would be a huge inconvenience and financial burden for us, given the extensive preparations and bookings already in place. Our wedding dates are 3 weeks apart. We have separate guest lists, but there is some overlap with close family and mutual friends. My mother is siding with Sarah and believes I should change my wedding to a fully Christian ceremony or at least incorporate significant Christian elements. My father, on the other hand, supports my decision and believes that both of us should have the weddings we want. Sarah was very upset and accused me of being selfish and not caring about her feelings. She thinks I'm prioritizing my wedding over our family's well-being. My mother has started going overboard, constantly criticizing my decision and even threatening not to attend my wedding unless I change it to a Christian ceremony. She's been calling extended family members to persuade them to side with Sarah and boycott my wedding if I don't comply. My father supports my decision and believes that both of us should have the weddings we want. He has been trying to mediate, but the situation is getting more tense by the day. Sarah and I have always had a complicated relationship, and while we support each other, there's often been tension due to our different personalities and choices. Now, I'm feeling torn. I don't want to hurt my sister or cause any family rift, but I also don't want to sacrifice my dream wedding. Also, I'm not in her bridal party or any other things for her wedding as I have mine. Also, I inherited a lot from my great-grandfather as he was Hindu, and he gave it to me as I was as well. I gave my sister 40% of what he gave me, and no one is helping with wedding costs. Am I the jerk for telling my sister that I won't change my wedding? Edit. A lot of people have asked who scheduled their wedding first, and I have to say it was me. When I was proposed to, I asked all my family when they would be available and chose my wedding date then. That took around 3 to 4 weeks. During that time, my sister and her boyfriend were having a fight and weren't talking, but I don't know why. Once he proposed, my sister asked that we have our wedding on the same day, same venue, and that I have a Christian wedding like her. I declined and she decided to go cry to our mom, but my dad wouldn't take any of my mom's complaints. She ended up choosing a date 3 weeks later. Update. So I went to try and talk to my sister, but she didn't let me in unless I told her I would have a Christian ceremony. I declined and left. My mom called me later on telling me I am a piece of shit for ruining my sister's big day. Honestly, I would have had my wedding months ago, but when a priest checked mine and my fiance's horoscope, we didn't have a date until a year later. I have talked to all my vendors, and though they don't do password protection, they agreed to it. Later on, I found out my mom wanted to change my bridal lehenga and my party decor. Luckily, they didn't let her. Also, my wedding has all of our distant relatives as well as close family. The wedding on my side alone has 1,700 people. Altogether, we have a guest list of 3,600. My sister tried to get everyone, but she didn't try to coordinate that much. She just sent the invite and told people to spread the word. All my guests are being accommodated by me and my in-laws. My inheritance included a huge castle mansion sort of thing which has 100 rooms, and the rest have been booked into resorts by me and my in-laws. My sister didn't offer this. A few people think this is fake, and for some context, I created an account after the drama. User Maleficent Set said, "This isn't all about who booked first and who booked second. It's the fact that OP's mom is trying to dismiss her religion, and the same with her sister. OP made a great point that both weddings will have their own uniqueness, and Sarah is being insecure that her wedding won't hold up as well. Also, as I've read, traditionally OP doesn't get to pick the wedding date. They also already have to have the wedding venue picked out, and then it's narrowed down from there. Postponing a wedding for another year is not ideal at all. As well as OP said, the financial burden. NTA. I don't even care who booked first, because for me, it's about the blatant dismissal and discrimination from your mother and sister for trying to convert it to a Christian wedding. Edit. OP scheduled her wedding first as well, so now we have the answer for those who are asking who scheduled it first. Sister and mother are 1000% the jerks. User Boss Alone said, NTA, your mother is picking favorites and she is emotionally manipulating you. If she doesn't want to come, let her. Her choice, but don't change your wedding. You said you have been planning it for a whole year. No one has the right to tell you to throw all your hard work in the bin. Your sister seems jealous of your lavish wedding, but both of them are unique, and it is an advantage that the dates are close as it will be easier for mutual guests to attend. So you are not the jerk, but your mom is for forcing her opinions on you. A couple of months later, OP provided an update. After all the drama with my sister and mother, I decided to go to the bridal shop to make some changes to my wedding attire. Initially, I had booked a white lehenga due to pressure from my mom, but I wanted to change it to a traditional red one. I went to the shop with my future mother-in-law and sister-in-law to make the changes. While we were at the shop, my mother and sister showed up unexpectedly. My mother started creating a scene, calling me ungrateful and disrespectful for changing the lehenga color. Sarah, seeing the red lehenga, lost her temper. She tried to persuade the shop assistant to switch it back to the white one, but when that didn't work, she completely lost control. A few days later, Sarah went back to the shop alone and demanded they change my red lehenga to white. When the shop assistant refused, Sarah went berserk. She grabbed a bottle of dye and started spilling it over all the lehengas in the shop, screaming that if she couldn't have her way, no one else would. The shop staff called the police, and when they arrived, Sarah threatened them, saying she would make sure they regretted arresting her. Sarah was taken into custody for property damage and threatening a police officer. Her boyfriend then contacted me, demanding that I pay for her bail and give up my wedding, saying that all this happened because of me. I refused, standing my ground that I shouldn't have to sacrifice my plans or finances for her irrational behavior. As a result, Sarah had to cancel her wedding and sell their car to cover the bail money. Her boyfriend, unable to handle the drama and financial strain, broke up with her. This next story was made in the same subreddit by a user named Loud Advantage. The post is titled, "Am I the jerk for thinking about breaking up with my BF because of his sister?" Posted in another group but wanted to get more opinions. So I've 21F been dating my BF Chris 24M for the last year. We started off as FWB but decided to give it a try about 3 months into it. A couple of months ago, he introduced me to his family. I was nervous because I was not close to my family, and he was the complete opposite. I wanted so badly to make a good impression because they mean so much to him. His mom, dad, and 2 younger brothers are great, but it's his older sister that is the problem. I could tell from the first day we met that she hated me. She was cold and slightly standoffish. Now I'm a huge overthinker, so I just let it go, just assuming that she would warm up to me eventually. His family eventually invited me to family dinners every Saturday night. One dinner, my BF jokingly said that his sister and I should do something together to get to know each other. She said that she would never hang out around me willingly and stormed out. No explanation. The dinner was pretty tense after that, but no one ever acknowledged it. When he dropped me off, I asked about it, and he only said his sister was really protective of him. After that, anytime I was in the room with his sister, she would storm off. The only time she could be in the room with me is for the dinners. Honestly, it was okay with me. So they were talking about their family trip during dinner one night. They asked me if I'd ever been to Cabo and if I wanted to go. His sister interrupted and asked where I would even sleep. My BF laughed and said I would stay with him in his room. This set her off, and she started yelling that it was a family trip and that I was trying to steal her brother from his family. We ended up leaving, but again, there were no explanations, no excuses, and no apologies. After that day, I started to get calls and texts every day from random numbers. The texts were mildly threatening, but nothing too crazy. I didn't even think that it could be his sister, until I verified that I would be going with them on the trip last month. This flipped a switch and the text started to get very scary, basically saying to leave my BF or things would happen. I asked my BF if he thought it could be his sister, and he just denied it and said it was probably someone trolling me. He explained his sister is just jealous because he is spending more of his time with me, that she would never do anything like that. It wasn't until I was walking out of work last week and saw my car was keyed with the words home wrecker. I just know it's her, but I don't know how to tell my boyfriend so he'll believe me. Should I go to the police? I don't know what I can even do. I really love him, but I'm scared his sister will do something to me. Also, what if it's not his sister? I don't even know what to think. About a week later, OP provided an update. Update: I'm literally sick to my stomach right now. TW for some pretty gross stuff. So, like a couple of you guys suggested, I went to the police station to make a report. I did tell them my suspicions, but without any concrete proof, there was nothing they could do. I told my boyfriend that I made the report, and he got really upset with me. I've never seen him as mad as he was at that moment. A couple of days after, his mom reached out to me and asked if I could come have a conversation with them. When I got there, his mom let me in, and my BF, his dad, his brothers, and his sister were sitting at the table. I cannot express how uncomfortable I felt. I just wanted to get this over with and go home. I don't even know how to articulate the stuff they unloaded on me like it was normal. So they sat me down and explained to me that they all engage in an open family. If you are confused, well, so was I. To make a long story short, they are having sexual relations with each other. They went on to explain this is my boyfriend's first serious relationship, and his sister is just feeling left out because he stopped sleeping with her when we got together. They went on to explain that if I can just give my BF permission to continue their arrangement, everyone would be happy. I honestly didn't even know how to react. I literally felt sick. I asked if I could get some time to arrange my thoughts. When I got home, my BF called and explained that he was scared to tell me, that he never wanted me to know. He made it clear that he has never slept with anyone while we have been together. He also admitted that he knew it was his sister sending me the threats, and if I just agreed to the arrangement, she would chill out. I asked him if that's what he wanted. He told me he never liked the situation, but he loves his family, and that's just what they do in his family. I told him I don't think I'm okay with this. Like, if we have kids, will they be dragged into this messed up lifestyle? He assured me once his sister started dating, we would be able to distance ourselves. That was 2 days ago. They have been calling me non-stop. I am just contemplating just blocking them and putting all this behind me. I don't know what to do to fix this. After another 6 weeks, OP gave us another update. I want to thank everyone who gave me advice and support throughout this time. I tried to follow everyone's advice and refused to meet him and his brother. I broke up with him over the phone, but he wouldn't accept the breakup until we met in person. I agreed to meet them in a public park by my house. Before anyone comes for me, the park is usually full of people at all times during the day. They brought his brother's girlfriend, who tried to convince me that this is just a way to express love as a family, and how I'm just viewing it as sexual, but it's deeper than that. She was very adamant that she isn't forced to sleep with the family. Steve kept trying to convince me that everything was normal, so we argued a little, and I broke up with him again. He refused to accept the breakup and told me we are still together. He was grabbing me so tightly it hurt. His brother had to force him away from me. I was able to leave and went home and packed some stuff to stay away from home as they know where I live. I have been staying at different hotels these past couple of weeks, and it has been stressful. I was getting really overwhelmed and scared, so I took advice and reached out to one of my friends. She has literally been a godsend. She has been nothing but supportive and kind. I'm ashamed that I was so embarrassed to ask my friends for help. I always thought that I had no one but myself. The only good thing from this situation is that it has opened my eyes to really see the people around me and how much they care and how many people I really took for granted. I am currently staying with my friend and her husband. They are both trying their best to help and keep my ex away from me. I know that I was dumb for trying to work it out, but I was really under the assumption that he was being forced into it and would be willing to leave them behind. I mean, obviously, I didn't even know him really. Now, they are posting things about me on social media, and people are saying horrible things about me. They continue to find ways to message me and threaten me. I don't know why they won't just leave me alone. I've reported everything, trying to at least get a restraining order or something to keep him away from me. I'm stuck because I can't do anything unless he hurts me physically. So I'm sorry if this isn't the update you wanted, but it's all I have. Yes, I'm alive. I've broken up with him as much as I can, and now I'm forced to just wait to see if he leaves me alone or finally hurts me. I'm as safe as I can be at the moment, and I guess that will be enough right now. Thank you again to everyone who reached out with advice, even if some of it was mean. I needed to hear it. This final story was made in the same subreddit by a user named Hotflan. The post is titled, "Am I the jerk for letting you know I am divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you used to ignore me? Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 35M, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my MIL has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering, right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home, but every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me, literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10. They were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me, but he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional, as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My MIL started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well, and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. And did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life. So I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? A couple of days later, OP provided an update. Some people on Reddit have been pretending to know me and spreading false claims. They've said I'm a deadbeat who doesn't work and that Stefan has 2 jobs to support me. They even fabricated a story about a neighbor who supposedly is a good friend of ours, saying I've been sleeping around and moving in with the guys I supposedly had affairs with. None of this is true. We don't live in South Carolina or the UK, and we're not friends with any of our neighbors. I have never cheated on Stefan, and I work and make slightly more than him, just $1 an hour difference. I suspect these claims might be from trolls brigading or Stefan's friends trying to make me regret posting about this. I am safe and staying with family, which is all I'm going to say for now. I'm working with my lawyer to ensure our safety, and that's all I can disclose at this time. For women who find themselves in my situation and are dealing with a lease, consult with a pro bono lawyer who specializes in rental rights. That's what I did. They can give you advice specific to your country or region. In my case, I was able to move out because Stefan and I had both signed a lease contract and had completed the minimum rental period. After my free consultation, I worked with my landlords, who are a lovely older couple, to arrange my departure. So don't be scared. Or, you can be scared, but there are things you can do to protect yourself. Also, make sure to run a credit check on yourself. I did, and it's another issue I'm addressing. As for recent developments, there hasn't been much new. Stefan is clearly desperate. He and my MIL have both had meltdowns and launched separate smear campaigns. My MIL has spread false claims, including that I'm an unfit mother and that I've been abandoning my responsibilities. I don't plan to answer these claims publicly. I'm collecting all evidence I have, especially since she has nothing to back up her accusations, but I have everything to back up mine. So, no, Stefan, this is not going to be a he said, she said situation. He deleted his Reddit account, claiming it was because one person found him. But then he told me a bunch of people sent him death threats, which seems impossible and contradictory. He did send his friends to my post, and I think they sent me some unsavory messages and comments, allegedly. When I tried to talk to Stefan, he always made me feel like I was going crazy. Whenever I raised concerns or expressed feelings, he would dismiss them, belittle my emotions, and make me second-guess myself. For instance, I'd come home to find that he had invited people over without informing me in advance. When I brought it up, he'd insist that he had mentioned it earlier, even though I knew he hadn't. Another time, I planned a special meal and asked him for a specific dish, but he claimed I had requested something completely different. When I reminded him of what I had actually asked for, he'd argue that I must have forgotten my own request. Stefan would also insist he had completed tasks that I had actually done myself. For example, he would claim he had handled a household chore when I was the one who actually took care of it. When I pointed this out, he'd dismiss my recollection and insist that he had done it. Even in conversations about our relationship, Stefan would frequently deny things he had said or done. If I brought up issues I had with his mother's behavior, he'd claim, "You never mentioned that before. You're just being overdramatic." This made me question whether I had ever truly discussed these problems or if I was indeed overreacting. At one point, I was so convinced that I had early onset dementia or schizophrenia that I started to question my own sanity. I felt lost and confused, struggling to distinguish between reality and his version of events. I began to document our interactions just to keep track of what was actually happening. But Stefan would always find a way to twist things, saying, "You must be misremembering," even though I had clear evidence to the contrary. Feeling so powerless, I realized that sharing my story online was the only way to present my truth in a manner he couldn't manipulate. I wanted to ensure that there was a clear and unchangeable record of what had happened. Posting about my experiences was a crucial step in reclaiming my voice and finding support from others who might understand my situation. It was a way to take control of my narrative after feeling so lost and doubting myself for so long. Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. Userfly Flirty and 50 said, "My dear OP, you have just given the classic definition of gaslighting. When someone dismisses your feelings, tells you you're being dramatic, and tries to twist the facts to make you question what you know to be true by saying it never happened or you're misremembering things, you are truly well rid of him. Congratulations again. Stay strong for you and your baby girl. It will be difficult for a while as you ride out the smear campaigns, but it will die down. If you have to, ask your lawyer to draft a cease and desist, or go to the police for a harassment report. You need as much of a paper trail as you can get. His bullshit is out in the open now, and he is exposed for the mama's boy he is. He can't alter the facts moving forward, and you're definitely doing the right thing. Just remember that." User, I Want to Be Anemone, said, "He's been projecting his insecurities onto you for so long he's freaking out that he has no one else to blame for his own glaring failures as a human being. He and his mother deserve each other. I hope they're driving each other insane. To every flying monkey of Stefan's. So, which one of you is next to be the guy's emotional punching bag? Don't worry, it won't be long before he's blaming all of you for not bending over each time he demands it because he's having such a hard time right now. It'll start with him accusing one guy, likely the one trying to stay out of the drama, of not being supportive enough. Then he'll go after whoever says the chill guy isn't evil, then he'll throw whatever dirt he has in that guy's face, etc. The whole friendship group will implode because nothing you do will ever satisfy an abusive, self-obsessed jerk.